It's Tuesday, May 23rd. This is Africa 54. Nigeria's massive refinery, funded by Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, has been commissioned, bringing hope the country will be a net exporter of petroleum products. Rights groups say Sudan's warring sides are showing a reckless disregard for civilians in Western Darfur, the other epicenter of Sudan's civil war. We'll have a report from a refugee camp in Borota, Chad. And USAID group The Gift of Chess sets up a workshop in Ghana producing chess pieces for women empowerment and youth development with a goal to strengthening communities through the game. All this and much more coming up on today's Africa 54. We begin in West Africa, where the massive Dangote refinery in Nigeria was commissioned. Funded by Africa's richest man, it gives hope of turning a country with regular fuel shortages into a net exporter of petroleum products. David Doyle has more.
Nigeria on Monday commissioned the massive Dangote refinery funded by Africa's richest man. Their aim is to transform the country into a net exporter of petroleum products. But analysts are warning that feeding the massive petrochemical complex with a constant supply of crude could be a problem. For outgoing President Muhammadu Buhari, the Dangote refinery is the answer to Nigeria's repeated fuel shortages, the latest of which hit in the run-up to February's disputed elections. $23.3 billion was spent last year on petroleum product imports, and around 33 million litres of petrol are consumed each day. The refinery plans to produce 53 million litres per day. Surplus petrol would be exported, turning Africa's biggest oil producer into an export hub for petroleum products. Speaking at the commissioning ceremony, Aliko Dangote said the priority is to ramp up production.
To ensure that within this year, we are able to fully satisfy our nation's demand for higher quality products to enable us to eliminate the tragedy of importing dependency and stop import dependency and stop once and for all the dumping in our market of toxic substandard petroleum products.
But there could be a hurdle. Nigeria's oil production has been declining due to theft, vandalism of pipelines and underinvestment. According to economist Kelvin Emmanuel, lower production could limit state-owned oil company NNPC's ability to fulfill an agreement to supply Dangote refinery with 300,000 barrels per day of crude.
The impact of NNPC failing is that he's going to be relying on international oil traders who are bringing in oil and selling to him in FX. Yeah? If you sell oil to him in FX and he refines, he's going to be selling petrol to you in FX. Prices are going to go up.
Monday's ceremony was attended by Buhari and 4 other presidents from the region. The complex also features a 435-megawatt power station, a deep-sea port, and a fertilizer unit.
David Doyle of Reuters filed that report. In Sudan, artillery fire could be heard in parts of Khartoum, and warplanes flew overhead on Tuesday, according to residents. This raised fears that intense fighting would erupt and shatter Sudanese hopes raised by an internationally monitored ceasefire. Some other residents reported relative calm early on Tuesday, the first full day of a truce that is being tracked by Saudi Arabia and the United States and is meant to allow for the delivery of humanitarian relief. Although fighting has continued through previous ceasefires, this was the first to be formally agreed following negotiations. The ceasefire, for the first time, a monitoring mechanism involving the army and the RSF, as well as representatives from Saudi Arabia and the United States, which brokered the agreement after talks in Jeddah. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the monitoring mechanism would be remote without giving details. Rights groups say Sudan's warring sides are showing a reckless disregard for civilians in Western Darfur, the other epicenter of Sudan's civil war. Henry Wilkins speaks to refugees in Borota, Chad, who have managed to escape the region, but say armed groups are targeting, harassing, and sometimes preventing others from leaving.
Ali Abed Allah Yaqub, a Sudanese refugee, says his 32-year-old son is stuck in Janina, the capital of West Darfur province at the heart of Sudan's civil war. This video, posted by a Sudanese journalist on social media, purports to show the fighting. Reports, which are difficult to verify due to a lack of access to the city, say hundreds may have been killed in fighting there over the weekend. Yaqub says he fears for his son's life.
If they try to run away, they might beat him up or even kill him. That's why he cannot come. Even some of the refugees who managed to escape here have been beaten up.
Many Sudanese refugees VOA spoke to in Chad said they were left with a near impossible choice: stay in Janina and get caught in the crossfire, or brave the road to Chad, where armed groups may attack or kill them. This refugee, who declined to give her name out of fear for her family's safety, says she left family members in Janina for that reason.
Some of my family members remained there, but it is not safe. They report to me what happened there. They told me that people are desperate because of the killings. They killed 3 of my brothers.
The non-profit Human Rights Watch says both sides in Sudan's war are showing a reckless disregard for civilian lives by using explosives and destroying hospitals. They also say that despite this, people are afraid to leave.
Residents I talked with in the last weeks, they were very explicit about the risks they're facing. Not only the impact of the fighting, the displacement, the destructions of gathering sites, but also checkpoints, extortion, and looting on the way. So people who are stranded, that they can't leave because they're afraid of their life, they can't have access to healthcare or services.
Yaqub says he lost contact with his son last week after the cell phone network in Janina was cut.
The last time we talked, they told me that he couldn't escape and was locked in. It is too dangerous to leave the front door, and even if he could, he would still be in danger.
An agreement between the warring Sudanese army and the paramilitary group Rapid Support Forces was reached last week to allow safe passage for refugees leaving.
In the eastern region of the Democratic Republic of Congo, internally displaced persons have been a common sight. Their camps are overcrowded and survival is an everyday struggle. Nwombe Justine uses her entrepreneurship skills to meet the needs of her family. Paul Ndiho has more.
In Kanyaruchinya IDP camp, about 10 kilometers from Goma in North Kivu province, eastern DRC, Beatrice Wagambi, mother of 6, got shot while she was running away from her home in Nyesisi in May 2022, after the M23 rebels attacked her village. While hiding in the forest, she was shot by stray bullets that shattered her legs. One of her kids got shot and died on the spot. Today, she's struggling to survive.
It was during the night when the rebels arrived, and we hid in the forest. I had my baby, and I had bullets flying around. They killed my child. I was hit in my legs.
Beatrice says she's lucky to be alive, and thanks to the neighbors who came to her rescue.
I had a phone and called for help, and my neighbors came and carried me. But at that point, my baby had died, my dead baby. So they took me to a local clinic, but could not operate on me. So they took me to another hospital in Bukavu.
Despite the adversity, she has found ways to survive and thrive. Today, she's expecting another baby. It's not been easy.
When I stand for a long time, I feel like my back is breaking down because I still have bullets stacked in my leg. So when I stand for a long time, I feel the shock from my legs to right above my waist, so my body is not fine.
For women like Beatrice, what keeps her going is the women in similar circumstances that have built a support system. They have found ways to make with the little they have to sustain their families. Still, they have this burning desire to return home one day. Paul Ndiho, VOA News, Washington.
Thousands of people demonstrated on Tuesday in northern Ethiopia's Tigray region to demand the return home of people displaced by a two-year war there and the withdrawal of outside forces that have remained since the conflict ended, according to humanitarian workers. Its government has declined to comment on the matter. For more on the demonstrations in Tigray, I'm joined by Abraham Zere, VOA Tigrinya Language Service Lead. Abraham, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you for having me.
So what more are you learning about demonstrations in Tigray from your reporters on the ground?
Today there have been demonstrations in major cities like Mekelle, Adigrat, Shire, Naslase, and others demanding for three things. One is returning of refugees to their homes, displaced refugees, international displaced refugees. Second is implementation of Pretoria Agreement, which is withdrawing of other forces. And third is continuation of suspension of aid because of recently USAID and then WFP have stopped aid to Tigray. And now they're demanding for more for a continuation of the aid.
So do we know the number of those displaced and where are they located?
It's difficult to have the exact figures, but according to the State Department, when the conflict started, they say 1.2 million people only from Western Tigray were displaced internally. Some could be left to Sudan, others could be internally came closer to down cities in Tigray, like Mekelle, Adigrat, those kind of safe cities. And other from Eritrean borders might also have moved to the inner cities of Tigray. So the figure could be like between 1.5 million and above, but we don't have accurate figures so far. Now, and those refugees are mostly living in refugee camp. In makeshift camps in schools and other places in cities in Tigray.
You know, many people expected Eritrean troops to withdraw from Ethiopia, and what we understand is they are still in Tigray. What are authorities saying? You know, because there was a peace agreement, these people should be out of there. What are they still doing on Ethiopian soil?
You know, Eritrean forces have left most from major cities, like the big cities, but they are still on the borders. And unfortunately, the borders are not even demarcated. So it's difficult to tell where exactly the borders lies. So they might use the excuse saying we're just kind of on the borders. And there's no other party to implement this kind of agreement, the Pretoria Agreement. So, and since they were not part of the signatories of the Pretoria Agreement, then it can't be like, it's difficult to enforce the Eritrean forces to withdraw from Tigray area, I guess.
But people still have questions. They are supposed to have left. The war is over. There's a peace agreement, but you know what?
That's what people are hoping, so yeah, we all hope so too.
Sarah, thank you very much for your insight.
Thank you.
Abraham Zere is VOA Tigrinya Language Service Lead. We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54 and all our VOA Africa programs on our website at voaafrica.com. Still to come, a U.S. aid group uses the game of chess to create jobs and strengthen communities in Ghana. Stay with us.
On the next Straight Talk Africa, we'll look at the role of the African Union in politics on the continent. Also, David Moinina Senge, Sierra Leone's Minister of Basic Education, talks about his new book, Radical Inclusion, and how to create a more just workplace, home and world. Join me, Heidi Adams, on the next Straight Talk Africa.
Kigali, we are here for the BAL Finals. For the best of African basketball. The Sahara and Nile Conference delivered their verdict. The top 8 teams on the continent are chasing the Holy Grail. Who will be the next BAL champion? It's game time.
In other news, private media and online outlets in the West African nation of Guinea on Tuesday launched a one-day boycott of news to protest the ruling junta's restrictions on press and internet. The protest was announced Monday after the junta shut down 2 radio stations owned by the Afrique Vision Group Limited, access to popular websites and social media, and threatened to close any media that undermines national unity. A Senegalese court on Tuesday resumed the trial of opposition leader Ousmane Sonko on rape charges, but he failed for the second time running to attend the high-stakes proceedings. Sonko's trial opened on May 16, but was immediately adjourned until May 23rd after he failed to attend. On Friday, he demanded guarantees for his safety as a condition for attending the trial. U.S. aid group The Gift of Chess has set up a workshop in Ghana producing chess pieces for women empowerment and youth development. The group is using chess to create jobs and strengthen communities through the game. Neka Chile reports from Accra.
Evelyn Upeta earns about $100 per month making chess pieces at a workshop in Ghana's capital using 3D modeling and a printing machine. The workshop, funded by the New York-based aid group The Gift of Chess and operated by local group Clean Afrique 64, hires and trains young women like Mpeta.
Chess has really helped me. At first, I don't know how to type. Now I'm learning how to type. And at first, I don't know how to use a 3D printer. Now I know how to use it. And now I can produce a chess piece. And I'm very sure this will help me in the near future.
The popularity of the strategic thinking game as a tool for community development is growing in Africa. The Gift of Chess sponsors tournaments and has donated 1,000 chess sets to underprivileged youth programs in Ghana, Kenya and Uganda, and more than 2,500 to Nigeria. Since starting local production this year in Ghana, the team has sent more than 50 chess sets to schools and youth centers and taught scores of young women how to play.
I think this particular program is going to go a long way to support the girls to think outside the box. And as you know, chess is a thinking game. So as they engage in chess, they're able to, widen their scope, their thinking scope. And I think it's going to have a long way, a great impact, on their upbringing and then their social background.
The workshop also teaches young women computer skills and programming for production.
We owe it as part of our corporate social responsibility to develop the communities we find ourselves in. And in every community that we go to, we will be concerned about the well-being of the people we train. Some of the people live in very difficult circumstances. So we just don't teach them how to play chess. We teach them a lot of other life skills to help them build their confidence, prepare them for life.
As the popularity of chess grows, the aid group hopes to get enough support to expand production in coming months. Neka Chile for VOA News, Accra, Ghana.
Now for the latest Basketball Africa League matches, let's go live to Kigali, Rwanda, where VOA Sports reporter Chek Tiero is standing by. Hello, Chek. Which team stole the action there in Kigali today?
As you can see, it's Stade Malien is practicing behind me right now. They're live, as you can see. Everybody's getting ready for the 2 days that was off. They're ready for the semi-final game. The first game we face Petroleum Rwanda from Angola, and they're going to play against one of Senegal. Petroleum Rwanda had a practice just before the Stade Malien team, like you see behind me. We had a chance to talk to the Stade Malien team, Esther, and the best player for the team, the 2 best players for the team, Aliou Jara, who scored a 6 double-double in 6 games in this league. He had mentioned that he has been working so hard for this moment, and he has been watching Best Basketball Africa League to get himself ready for a moment like this. And we also spoke to the head coach. The head coach said that they have been analyzing the other team defensing on their defense and also what they did in the past. That didn't work. And you can see behind me, the motivation is here. This time of the season, Esther, everything is important. Everything is important. We saw that with the semi-finals game, and we're looking forward to see big games tomorrow.
Hey, Chek, by the way, they are overshadowing you, so you can put the mic up a little bit and tell us how the other teams did.
The other teams also, they're pretty much everybody doing the same thing at this moment of the year, Esther. Everybody's watching a lot of films from the previous games, and they're watching a lot of adversary games, films, and make a decision about what they need to do. And we had the head coach of Sudan, Malian, say that he bring out 2 for the offensive action to brand new that they never used it. He's going to use it on the semi-final. We also see Petro was here earlier. They was having a lot of films. They was playing with a lot of enthusiasm, and we missed the IS1 practice and also the Al Ali. And Stade Malien will face Al Ali in the second game tomorrow. We haven't get a chance to see those 2 teams. But Esther, at this moment of life, like I say, everybody is watching everybody's move, and whoever make the least mistake gonna cause a big game tomorrow.
Okay, quickly tell us what we should expect tomorrow.
We should expect in a very exciting moment, and as we saw the previous games of this quarterfinal, which will make us leave the Basketball Africa League like an NBA at 8 seconds before the end game, and we didn't still know who's going to win. We expect to see a very competitive game tomorrow. Even though the Rwanda Kigali team is out, we expect to see a packed team already for the playoff, because it's people coming from all over the world, Esther, and we expect to see big personality in this team tomorrow, including artists, including music stars from Africa, NBA players. We see a bunch of people from all over the world that are very important. We expect to see a tremendous time tomorrow, Esther. We'll give you update about everything that happens tomorrow.
Looking forward to it, Czech. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Czech Tiero, VOA Sports reporter, live for us from Kigali, Rwanda. Now, a total of 1.6 million people died from tuberculosis in 2021, including 187,000 people with HIV, according to World Health Organization. And for more on this report, here's VOA Health reporter Mkamiti Kibayasi. Mkamiti, hello.
Hello, Esther. Worldwide, tuberculosis is the 13th leading cause of death and second leading infectious killer after COVID-19, above HIV and AIDS. TB is an infectious disease that most often affects the lung and is caused by the type of Mycobacterium. To understand what the signs of TB are, potential treatments, and complications, I am joined live via Skype from Nairobi, Kenya, by Dr. Theophilus Wangata of Precise Healthcare in Nairobi. Dr. Wangata, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you, Mkamiti.
Thank you for joining us. What are the signs and symptoms of tuberculosis?
The signs and symptoms of TB are cough, fever, shortness of breathing, pain in the chest, and sometimes sweating in the night, and also losing weight. The cough can be there for over a period of more than 3 weeks. Over to you.
And how is tuberculosis diagnosed and treated?
The diagnosis of TB is based on the history from the doctor, from the patient, and examination that would reveal certain changes in the breathing pattern of the patient. And then the tests done include a skin test called a tuberculin skin test. Sometimes we do a chest X-ray, usually a chest X-ray, and then an extra test called Gene Expert. And with all the results, we decide whether the person has TB or not. For children, it is based on a myriad of many things, including what we call failure to thrive.
Dr. Teo, what is the connection between tuberculosis and HIV?
Tuberculosis affects people who have a low immune system, and HIV is one of the conditions that causes reduced immunity. So in that context, then, it is easy for people living with HIV.
Is TB inherited? Tell us more about TB in pregnancy. Do you hear me, Dr. Teo? Looks like there is technical issues, but that was Dr. Theophilus Wangata from the Precise Health Center in Nairobi, Kenya. Back to you, Esther.
Hey, Mkamiti, what more have you been following, and what should we expect next week from your health report?
Yeah, hopefully we're going to talk about hypertension, because hypertension is another problem, especially in Africa.
And I know you've dug deep into tuberculosis as well, and we've seen it spreading fast in Africa, especially now we're also hearing a lot about cholera. What are you hearing from health experts?
According to WHO, when we talk about tuberculosis, they said a lot of people died because there is a mixed symptoms between HIV and tuberculosis. That's why I wanted Dr. Wangata to explain more what is the difference between TB and HIV, because someone can be HIV positive and another one can be TB positive. So how could you recognize this one has TB, this one has HIV?
And what else should we look forward to? I know that you had more questions for Dr. Wangata, and he was really good, but unfortunately we didn't, the technical issues happen.
Yeah, Esther, when we talk about medical issue, always we need to talk about treatment and how much it costs. So I was very impressed to know how much it costs each dose, because there is different doses. Some people, they go 3 months, some people 6 months. It depends how much you've been affected. So unfortunately, we didn't get Dr. Wangata in depth, but hopefully we'll be able
to cover that as well. What are you hearing about this cholera outbreak and the spreading of cholera in so many of sub-Saharan African countries?
Recently, Malawi is the one who was affected more. And this is because of the floods and climate change. And a few weeks ago, when we talked to WHO representative in Africa, said they are still working with a lot of different ways how to prevent cholera in Africa, not only Malawi, but other parts of Africa.
Well, good job, committee. We look forward to your health reports. Thank you very much for following that, and also give us a little more from your native country of Tanzania whenever you're able to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Esther.
Committee Kibayasi with the health report for us here. Be sure to join our health report every Tuesday right here on Africa 54. And that wraps up our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.